Good Monday afternoon to you. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. We'll talk plenty of Browns a little bit later. Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will be along to talk some Browns and NFL football. Mandatory minicamp gets underway in Berea this week. And as always, we are pleased to be joined by Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot. So, Mary Kay, some extended availability. You get to see the guys out at mandatory minicamp. What are you looking for? What are you going to be paying attention to? What is it that kind of has you thinking, let's see what this happens at this mandatory minicamp?
Well, first of all, it always really feels like time for football when you get to go to mandatory training camp, and you're out there for 3 days, and you really get to spend a lot of time watching all the practice from beginning to end. And you finally see the whole new roster on the field together for the very first time. So that's kind of what I'm looking for initially, is just to kind of get the big picture of what this team looks like and feels like from a talent standpoint, from a size standpoint, from a speed standpoint. But very specifically, there are two guys that I kind of can't wait to see out on the field, and that's Odell Beckham Jr. on the offense and Jadeveon Clowney on the defense.
The other thing that's kind of intriguing is you kind of get to see the rookies kind of incorporated with more of the veterans and how they fit in and what position groups look like. Is that another thing that you kind of pay attention to?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And this is a really exciting rookie class. I mean, there are guys in this rookie class that have an opportunity to come in here and start right away, even though they were picked number 26 overall in Greg Newsome, and then in the second round in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Both of those guys still have an opportunity to start this season. I think they will at some point, and it will be interesting to see them integrate now with all of the veterans there, and then also go up against some of the offensive players in 11 on 11s. There's no contact, and these aren't going to be full speed practices. There are no pads. It's really not like you're going to hear hear and see a bunch of tackling and those kinds of things. But you can pick up a lot in these practices, and there's so much I'm looking forward to seeing.
So you mentioned Odell Beckham Jr. in town with a number of the Browns players. Great turnout for Jarvis Landry's celebrity softball game over the weekend. After that, Odell, again on social media, posted an update how his recovery was going. And again, he looks good. Jarvis had said that he did, and here's some more visual proof. Getting after it, cutting, putting a lot of torque on that knee, which is always what you want to see.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to see the kinds of things that he can do. And when we asked Jarvis about it, because he had just spent the previous 4 days working out with him in Austin, when we asked Jarvis about it at the softball game, he said he will blow your mind away with some of the things that he's doing. And you can see them right there on this Instagram post. It's pretty incredible what he's been up to. And, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that they're going to let him necessarily go all out in minicamp. They might kind of just back him off a little bit so they can get him to training camp healthy. But he sure looks like he could take on a full workload.
Yeah, and, I'm sure the Browns and Kevin Stefanski, we've seen they're going to err on the side of caution with that. But you watch some of the things that he is doing. And remember, it's about 6.5 months removed from ACL surgery, which is incredible.
It really is incredible. It's Adrian Peterson-like. Remember when Adrian Peterson came back in a short amount of time and was just lights out that next year back? And he rushed for over 2,000 yards that year, and he was no worse for the wear and tear. And that's what it looks like with OBJ. He almost looks like a physical marvel to be able to do this only 6.5 months out from ACL surgery. Now, the surgeries have improved. The rehab has improved. It's not the sports death sentence that it used to be, 5, 6, 10 years ago. Now you can come back from these things. You can still excel, play at an incredibly high level, and for the most part, get back to where you were before the surgery. So that's great news for him. Tremendous news for the Browns.
So you and the folks at Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer are doing 21 questions for the 2021 Browns. One of those questions, who will be the third wide receiver? Take us through the thought process, what you believe will happen, and some of the things that would go into determining who is the Browns' third wide receiver.
Well, I think the competition is going to be fantastic for that. Obviously, you've got some really, really good guys that are competing for that role. You've got Rashard Higgins, you've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Kaderil Hodge, now Anthony Schwartz. Anthony's set back a little bit by a soft tissue injury, and I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of sits this mini camp out. He's another guy, they want to get him to training camp very, very healthy, and therefore he might not do too much in this mini camp. So slight setback for him with that, but it gives an opportunity for, Rashard Higgins to go out there and stake his claim to that third wideout job. Same thing with these other guys, and they will push each other. I'm very anxious to see what Donovan Peoples-Jones can do this year.
Each of them has different skill sets, too. You think of Higgins, you think the comfortability, you think Schwartz and world-class speed. So there are different skill sets that each of these guys has.
Yeah, and that's why, you might not just have one third receiver. I mean, it will really depend on the matchups with the opponent. I mean, if you need to get some speed on the field, you've got some guys that can do that for you in Hodge and Schwartz, Donovan Peoples-Jones to a certain extent. If you want more of an accurate route runner and someone who's just going to go up there and catch the ball for you and be where he's supposed to be and be accurate, you're going to look to Rashard Higgins for that sort of thing. So a lot of it will depend on the matchup, but these guys, they will bring out the best in each other with this competition.
So we talked a little bit last week when we chatted about Sheldon Richardson. Have you heard anything new? What is the latest with Sheldon Richardson and potentially him rejoining the Browns?
Well, as I've been writing, he's had interest from other teams as well as the Cleveland Browns, and it was going to be and still will be a matter of the best fit for him and what he chooses to do, whether it be starting opportunity, money, not exactly sure which way that he wants to go with this. But I did see something today. Someone reported that, that he could be headed back to Minnesota, where, he was there in Minnesota for a year with Kevin Stefanski. But someone did mention that could happen again. And I wouldn't be surprised if he signs elsewhere, just because in Cleveland, he would be taking a significant pay cut from the $13.66 million his cap number was supposed to be this year. They saved $12 million on the cap in releasing him. So, there could also be a matter of pride. I mean, does he want to come back and take a bunch less money from a team that, that let him go and didn't want to pay him his full salary?
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com, and I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out on the other side of the break. We'll hear from Jarvis Landry. We'll also see about some Super Bowl aspirations. Jarvis Landry said it. We'll hear what people think about that. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, Kay Cabot. Jarvis Landry's celebrity softball event was this weekend at Classic Park out in Eastlake. A number of the Browns were in town. Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., Myles Garrett, some of the Chiefs, Travis Kelce. But Jarvis Landry met with the media during this event and talked about what he saw from Odell Beckham Jr. when they were working out together.
And I can't wait for you guys to see him. You know, I can't wait for him to get back out there. He'll be around today. I'm sure you guys will talk to him today. But he's in fantastic shape and he's ready to go. He's only 6.5 months and he's already doing some things that will blow your mind away.
And that was Kay Cabot's video from this weekend. Let's welcome back in Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. And Kay, you could see by the smile on his face, he is thrilled that his good friend and teammate appears to be close to where he wants to be 100%.
Yeah, you know what? The mood was really, really good with Jarvis. He looks like he's in a really good place himself, just, mentally, emotionally. I think he feels great, too. Last year at this time, he was still coming off of a hip surgery himself, and he had to work through some things physically last year. And I think that's behind him now, and he's really excited about that. I think he sees what Odell Beckham is capable of. I think they both see how the lights came on for Baker Mayfield in this offense now. They now have an upgraded defense that can hang with the offense. And I think this whole team, I think they really do believe that they can make a run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. So a little bit later in that conversation, Jarvis Landry said, why not talk about the Super Bowl? It's real. And to be honest with you, that's the way the players on good teams feel.
Absolutely 100%. And just being there at, and just seeing all these guys gather together for this softball game, which was really the first time I had seen them all together since the Chiefs game last year. You look around and you see Myles Garrett and you see Denzel Ward, Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Baker Mayfield, David Njoku, Austin Hooper. The list goes on and on and on. And really, it's a tremendous football team on paper, and I believe that it will also translate over onto the field because they've got great coaching now, and I think there's every reason to believe that this team is going to make some really good noise this year.
And the other thing is people shouldn't. This is what good teams do. In order for it to happen, the players have to believe it and be willing to, that you don't want to talk about it all the time, but if somebody asks you about it, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, and Jarvis has always been one that has espoused that theory that, why not speak something into existence? He is a firm believer in that. Speak it and make it happen. And so he has no qualms about, saying that they're going to beat a football team or that they're going to make it to the Super Bowl because he really does believe that the actions can follow the words. And I think he sees what the Browns have here this year.
So nationally, Mark Spears from ESPN was asked about those comments by Jarvis Landry, who said, yeah, let's talk about it. It's real. Let's listen to what Marcus Spears, former NFL player, had to say about that.
What do you think of them talking about it? Do you like or not like a player coming out and saying, yes, we're thinking Super Bowl in June?
I like it. And the reason I like it, G, is because of what Cleveland did last year, what they proved to themselves. Like, we can get enamored about what the Browns proved to us, and they were a good team and made the playoffs for the first time in a quarter century. But when you think about what they were able to do, these guys have proven to themselves that they can play at a very high level. They're a playoff team. We know the dynamic of each individual talent that's on this football team. And listen, I know Jarvis. I know Juice. Juice is a realistic guy. He's absolutely thinking about a damn Super Bowl. He doesn't play the game for anything else. If it's one guy in that league, and obviously everybody wants their money, but his competitive nature is second to none. He's thinking about Super Bowl, but he's being humble. He's not being braggadocious because the thing we've attributed to the Cleveland Browns is that they talk too much and not results. But based on what this team did last year, they can live with some confidence going into this offseason that not only can they get better, but they could be legit contenders to make a Super Bowl run this year.
Mary Kay, I agree. I don't think they should shy away from it.
Well, I mean, look at it logically. They made it to the final 8 last year with a defense that really wasn't necessarily a playoff caliber defense. So you'd expect them to have more success and to go further this year with a much better defense, a completely overhauled defense, and they're returning their entire offense. They'll be able to build on what they started last year. Baker Mayfield, again, in his last 10 games, had 16 touchdowns against only 1 interception after that first interception that he had where Odell got hurt in Cincinnati. 16-1 after that. Now, some of those defenses were not the juggernauts of the NFL. And I've always tried to make sure that everybody understands they did not play the world beaters down the stretch. They played run defenses that were 28, 29, 30th, and 31st or something like that. They played a lot of poor defenses in the second half of the season. But that's going to basically happen every year. There are a lot of bad defenses in the NFL, and chances are you're going to run into a lot of them. So that kind of stuff evens itself out throughout the course of the season. I still think that what they have on this team in terms of the talent, in terms of the coaching, they can make a run for it.
Yeah, and the other thing about Kevin Stefanski is he's going to put those questions to rest. He'll be asked it, and he will say a lot of hard work between now and then. We've already heard the answer he's going to have for the high expectations.
Yeah, you know what? He's all about that. Now, you'll notice that there was a difference in Kevin Stefanski. Once they made the playoffs last year, the floodgates opened with him, and he welcomed talk about, hey, we're in the tournament now. We can make the Super Bowl. So he had no qualms about talking about the Super Bowl once they made the playoffs. But until that time, it was one game at a time. Stay focused, 1 week at a time. He never even looked 2 weeks ahead. He didn't look at the bye week. He didn't look at the next AFC North game coming up. It was always the next football game and what can we do to win it. He's been around long enough to know that's how you have to approach it. He's been around enough good coaches to know that is how you do it. But once then they get to the playoffs, it's open season.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com, and I'm going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we'll take a look at Baker Mayfield from the softball field. A little bit of video, and the guy can hit a softball, as you might expect. We'll also talk about extensions, who might get extended for the Browns before training camp gets underway in about 6-7 weeks. Sports4CLE, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Better days are ahead. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So what are you waiting for? Register now for online and on-campus summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
COVID-19 has changed how we show up and show out with our family. Now it's time to take the first step that lets us get back to talking smack with a side of mac and cheese.
Before we can safely come together, we need the facts.
As COVID-19 vaccines become available, you may have questions.
Should I get it?
Is it safe?
Should I wait?
It's smart to question. Now, get the facts at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. We mentioned Jarvis Landry's softball, the celebrity softball event, was this weekend. Take a look at the Browns quarterback, Baker Mayfield, out at Classic Park, taking some BP. And the bat flip, yeah, he got all of that. A lot of celebration. And Baker Mayfield having some fun out at Classic Park at the celebrity softball event. There you see him and Jarvis Landry. It was his celebrity softball event. But pretty good little left-handed swing there. And, yeah, it's got the bat flip down too. But, Mary Kay, they're having a lot of fun out at Classic Park.
Yeah, they had a great time. And it was one of those kind of events where there's team building and team bonding going on, and you get some camaraderie and you have a little bit of fun. They were just coming off of the Camp Baker down in Austin, Texas, where they did a lot of football and a lot of boating, a lot of lake time, and they had a lot of fun with each other down there. And when you become a family like that, I think it carries over onto the football field. So to see these guys really building some memories, enjoying each other, it's a lot of fun. Also, it's dramatically different from last year when fun couldn't really be had. I mean, just the group stuff, you couldn't do it. Even we also had an opportunity to talk to players in person for the first time since the previous year. So that was pretty incredible too, just to see someone's face, to see the smile, to get not super close to them, but close enough to say hello and, to catch back up with some people. It just had a really nice feel to it. Those guys had a grand old time. And as you mentioned, Baker Mayfield can knock the stuff out of a softball. And he was the co-winner of the home run derby. And yeah, they had a great time. And it was for a great cause as well.
So, again, I've referenced this before. You wrote 21 questions about the 2021 Browns, cleveland.com, and the sports department for the Plain Dealer. One of them, will Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham flourish together this season? What do you think about that one?
Yeah, you know what? I made a very strong case in that particular one where I do believe that they will flourish together this season. I think they'll be fine. I think that Baker Mayfield needed to find himself in this offense before he could really help anybody else shine or excel or get the ball to anybody the way that he did in the second half of the season. I don't think he got good because Odell was gone. I think he got good because they went back. They looked at every interception that he had thrown. They looked at everything that he had done in terms of play action, no play action, rolling out, staying in the pocket, and they threw out the things that didn't work. They added in things that did, and they kept the things that he did very well, and they made sure that they played to his strengths. And he played with a ton of confidence down the stretch. Again, it must be remembered that he didn't play the best and brightest defenses the whole entire second half of the season, but he gained a lot of confidence. And I feel like he owns this offense now to the point where, even though he does have some strong personalities, some very strong personalities on this football team, and they all want the ball. They all feel they can contribute, and they all want the ball. You've got a bunch of guys that are more than capable of 1,000-yard seasons. I think he's now got the confidence to be able to distribute the ball in the way that he sees fit without having those voices in his head, without having to worry about who's not getting it enough, who's getting it too much. I think he's just going to find the open man and just try to complete the pass.
The other thing is, and you mentioned this, Kevin Stefanski kind of got a feel for what he does well. Again, that's a sign of good coaching. Play to your players' strengths, and I believe wholeheartedly Kevin Stefanski will do that.
Yeah, he did that last year, a lot more in the second half of the season once he figured out what Baker was all about. I mean, if you look at the first game, I mean, they thought he could kind of stay in the pocket and do some things like that. And they quickly found out that Calais Campbell was just going to reach those hands up there and swat the ball down. So you can't necessarily do those kind of things when you've got a 6'8" defensive lineman there. So they just found out things like that they could do and couldn't do. And they will build on that this year. The other thing that they will do is he will take some tremendous input from the brilliant coaches on his staff. He's going to get a lot of great feedback from Chad O'Shea, the receivers coach, who has a bunch of Super Bowl rings from his New England Patriots days. They'll get way more input from Alex Van Pelt, who coached Rodgers, and Rodgers loves him and hated that Alex Van Pelt was gone. They've got Bill Callahan, who did a phenomenal job really anywhere he's been with offensive linemen. and of course Stump Mitchell, who just does a terrific job at the running back. So I think they're going to take input from all these guys and be really super creative this year.
So as we move on, do you think anybody of the guys that are eligible, that would be Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward, Wyatt Teller, does anybody get extended before training camp? Just a gut feel. I know you don't have, there's nobody whispering in your ear saying, hey, we're going to extend this guy. But when you look at it and factor in some things, do you think anybody gets extended before training camp?
I think at least one of the guys could probably get extended before training camp. It won't be easy because that's going to be coming up here pretty quickly. But I think at least one can. I would say, maybe they'll get Nick Chubb done before then. They could possibly get Denzel Ward done before then. Not sure they'll have Baker done before training camp, but they'll continue to work on it as they go through training camp and even into the season. Now, again, with Denzel and Baker, they already picked up their 5th-year option, so they don't have a sense of urgency about losing those guys. So if they don't get them done right away, there should be no shame or panic in that. But when it comes to Nick Chubb and Wyatt Teller, they're heading into the final year of their season. There are a couple other guys in that category, and you'd like to get them wrapped up if you could.
You mentioned Wyatt Teller. That's a guy that had a breakout season a year ago as a guard. Nobody was sure who was going to start. He not only started, he was one of the best guards in football. Can the offensive line be even better than it was a season ago, do you think?
Well, I definitely think so. There's no question about that. And there are 3 reasons why, really. Number one, because Jed Wills Jr. will be in his 2nd season. That was his first time ever playing left tackle. Now he's heading into his 2nd season, and he should take that jump that you expect high-level rookies to take from their first year to their 2nd year. So there's that. Jack Conklin will be his 2nd season in this new system, so I think he'll be better in it. And then, as you mentioned, Wyatt Teller still has room to grow. I mean, he did really well in run blocking, needs to do a nicer job in pass blocking. So I do think that that the arrow is pointing up for the offensive line.
And the other thing is, it's another year with Bill Callahan to kind of fine-tune things. And boy, he did a nice job a season ago, and you would expect that to continue.
Absolutely. He's one of the best in the NFL. And when you think about that, it's not just coaching the offensive line, but it's really participating in the running game and how that all goes. Both the running game and the passing game, but he has a lot to do with the run blocking schemes and the wide zone and all the things that this offense is doing and that they do so well. And so, there are a lot of very, very bright minds on this coaching staff.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter, and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we'll take a look at 5 guys that may be taking a step backward, according to Dog Pound Daily. Plus, one of the Chiefs gives his endorsement to just how good he thinks this Browns team is. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Sports4CLE continues. We continue talking Browns football with Browns beat reporter for cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer, Mary Kay Cabot. So, Mary Kay, this is from dogpounddaily.com. 5 Browns who could take a step back this year. No particular order, but they give us Baker Mayfield, the quarterback. Not sure I agree with that, but your thoughts?
Well, I don't know why they would say that, really. I mean, I think that Baker should take a step up this year. There's every reason to believe that he will. He's in the same system for the first time in his career, that he gets to head into the second year with the exact same playbook, same play caller, and mostly the same offense all around him. So I think he will only build on what he did last year. I don't see any reason whatsoever that he will be taking a step back.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. And for especially second year in the system for the first time as a pro, that, again, I scratch my head every time I say that. Second person they have is the center, J.C. Tretter. And that's a guy that, boy, you have to admire how he is able to get ready to play in the games year in and year out.
Well, you know what? He has stayed healthy as he, even when he's not perfectly healthy, when he's got a high ankle sprain or whatever else is going on with him, he is out there just with his guys. He is one of those warriors that is just going to be there for his football team. And that's been tremendous. And he's got the whole added responsibility of the players on his shoulders in terms of being the president of the NFLPA as well. I don't see him taking a step back either. I mean, he's not an old guy by any stretch. I mean, he's a good, solid veteran, and it's not like he's playing at a position where he has to sprint, 70 yards downfield or something like that. So I don't see him taking a step back.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, they're saying because these guys played so well a season ago, they may take a step back. But, again, kind of head-scratcher. This guy, Jarvis Landry, and again, you mentioned how much he had to work to get healthy, to get ready to go.
Yes. Last year at this time, Jarvis Landry was not healthy. He was coming back from hip surgery, and it took him a while to be himself. It wasn't until, I would say, maybe 5-6 games into the season that he really was himself. And sometimes you get little residual bumps and bruises from those kinds of things. And I've been told that he was battling through a few things last season. So if he can stay healthy this year, I think the arrow is up for him as well.
I would agree. Now this one's interesting. Wyatt Teller, and boy, he came out of nowhere to become one of the best guards in the NFL. It'll be interesting to see, can he continue that trend?
Well, again, they will be playing probably some better defenses than they played last year. They got a little bit of a break here and there by playing some of the lesser football teams. As a matter of fact, 6 teams that they faced won only 4 games or fewer. And I think they won 5 of those games. And I think if I have that right, the Jets were the game that they lost out of that group. But 6 teams with 4 victories or fewer last year. So they ended up with a pretty easy schedule last season, and they're supposedly supposed to have a tougher schedule in 2021. Although, Warren Sharp of Sharp Football, when looking at the projected victory total of opponents, he has the Browns with the 3rd easiest schedule in 2021. I find that hard to believe, especially if Aaron Rodgers remains in Green Bay. You're playing in Kansas City. You're playing in Green Bay. You've added the Cardinals. They're going to be better this year. I think the Steelers have a chance to be better this year than they were at the end of last year. And plus, they rested all their starters in the final game, or most of them. So I think you could have a tougher schedule this year than you did last year.
Last one on this list, Malcolm Smith, the linebacker, a veteran, and a guy the Browns brought back as a guy that could take a step back. When you get to be, 30-ish, you never know in the NFL.
Well, he's not going to have to play a ton this year, I don't think, because they have a number of guys that can do what he does. So I think he'll serve the role very well for them. And I don't see him taking any kind of a big step back. He did a nice job last year. He graded out very well. He was their best coverage linebacker. And, some newer, younger guys will be fulfilling those roles probably a little bit more this season. But I still think that he'll do a nice job for them.
So, again, at that celebrity softball game of Jarvis Landry, one of the guys that was there, Travis Kelce, Cleveland Heights native, and outstanding tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. He stays connected to his alma mater, Cleveland Heights High, and follows the Browns, admittedly, because his family are huge Browns fans. He thinks the Browns and the Chiefs are neck and neck.
Yeah, that was a really, really interesting statement coming from a guy who has just played for a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago and lost it to the Bucs last season. So for him to put the Browns up in that category, in that class, is pretty remarkable. And I think one of the reasons why he's saying that is, look, I mean, the Browns lost 22-17 in the divisional round. And of course, there were extenuating circumstances. Patrick Mahomes did not play the final 22 minutes of that game. But I think Travis Kelce can see what the Browns have done on defense this year. He knows what's about to face them when the Cleveland Browns go out to Kansas City on September 12th. He knows that, you know, they're going to have to deal with Miles and Denzel and John Johnson and JOK and Troy Hill and Grant and Greedy. And he knows that this is not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination.
And again, a little bit extra weight coming from a guy that he was on the field the last time the Browns played and was on the field the last game of the year. So it's a little bit extra weight when it's coming from a guy like Travis Kelce.
Yeah, he knows this roster. He knows what he's looking at. He follows the Browns. He's still a Browns fan. And so he knows what they have, including his very dear friend, Kareem Hunt, and what Kareem can bring to the table. He knows Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back, and I think he's speaking the truth. I think he knows that when the Cleveland Browns go into Kansas City, they have a better chance of winning this opener than they did the divisional playoff game, even if Patrick plays the whole entire game. The Chiefs know they have to be ready for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I would agree. So nationally on ESPN, Chris Canty was asked, who is the biggest challenger to the defending AFC champs, the Kansas City Chiefs? Here's his answer.
I'm going with Cleveland. I don't know what these guys are talking about. Okay. I'm going with Cleveland, and Lewis talked about the Bills' issues with rushing the passer. Let me tell you what the Browns don't have to worry about. The ability to be able to get after the quarterback with Myles Garrett and now adding Jadeveon Clowney to that group. I mean, we got to remember, this Cleveland team pushed Kansas City to the brink in the divisional round last year. It came down to a fourth down conversion, and the Chiefs were able to salt away that game. But, I mean, Cleveland is a team that figured out how to win last year in the postseason, and I don't think we can overstate how important that's going to be for a young upstart group that's had issues from an organization standpoint with the culture in the past. So I just feel like with where this team is at right now, you could probably make the argument that they're the most complete team in the AFC. The only question is the quarterback and whether or not he can take that step where he can have that kind of production that we've seen from Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes.
That is a big question.
And Mary Kay, again, it's a former player who pays attention in Chris Canty. So that's, again, there's a little bit of validity to what he's saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think that people can see what is going on here with this football team. And you just can't deny that they have added so much talent to that defense now to go along with everything that they had on the offense. And when you have an offensive line like that, a defensive line like they have, a running game, I mean, they have talent all across the board. And I do think that, some of it will depend on how well Baker Mayfield plays, but there's just all the signs are there that he's going to be better than he was last year. And it's sort of funny that people still kind of aren't 100% bought in and doubting him a little bit. And I still think that sort of lingers from that 2019 season that he had under Freddie Kitchens.
And you know what? I think it's more of a national thing because I don't think they understood the level of dysfunction that was going on with the coaching staff that Baker Mayfield had to deal with. I think the people locally who pay attention to what's been going on with Baker Mayfield, I think they have a pretty good feeling that this guy's going to end up taking that next step.
Yes, absolutely. Like you said, I mean, I think nationally people do still have that thought of 2019 in their minds and the beginning of last year. I mean, they saw, the opener where they lost 38-6 to Baltimore, then they got blown out by the Steelers. And it took people a little while to catch on. Not everybody saw all those games down the stretch in the second half of the season when he was throwing 16 touchdown passes against only 1 interception. That's where he kind of really made his hay. Those games were not on national television for the most part. Those games were kind of buried, and then all of a sudden the Browns show up in the playoffs and they're practically beating the Chiefs. So I think it might take the Nationals a little while to catch on.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. As always, Mary Kay, thanks so much for the time and the insight. We appreciate it. All right, Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer. Make sure you read her in the pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout, continue to talk Browns. Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us. Talk a little bit about what to expect from the rookies during the upcoming mandatory minicamp. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
As the COVID-19 vaccines become available, you might be asking yourself, should I get it? And if I do, will I be able to go about life without putting my family at risk? You've got questions, and that's normal. The fact is, the vaccines are safe and effective. They're going to save lives. To get the latest on the COVID-19 vaccines, visit getvaccineanswers.org, because getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. It's up to you.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. Indians getting ready to open up a series against the Baltimore Orioles over at Progressive Field. And some tough news for the Indians. Shane Bieber goes to the IL with a strained right shoulder. He will be shut down from throwing for 2 weeks. So now the only guy from the beginning of the season in the rotation that is able to go for Terry Francona is Aaron Savali, who's been outstanding, but Shane Bieber, strained right shoulder, shut down on the IL, no throwing for 2 weeks, and he's got to build up his arm strength again. Indians are recalling Kyle Nelson, a relief pitcher from Columbus, but again, the rotation, which has struggled, about to struggle a whole lot more as they try to get Shane Bieber healthy and back on track for the Indians. Well, let's turn our attention to the Browns. We will welcome in Tim Bielik. He is a reporter for cleveland.com as well as the Plain Dealer. Tim, let's talk a little bit about what you expect to see from those rookies, that rookie class that everybody's been excited about. What do you want to see from them at this mini camp? What do you think some of the focus will be?
Well, something big I want to keep an eye on is, how Greg Newsome fares against the top receivers. He's been in rookie camp, he's been in the OTA, so he's been doing all that stuff, and that's all good. But the thing is, the top receivers have all been in Austin at Baker Mayfield passing camp. So he's going to get a chance. Newsome's going to get a chance at real NFL indoctrination. It's one thing going against rookie receivers, guys who aren't drafted, probably won't play an NFL game. It's another thing when you're asked to cover either Odell Beckham Jr., or Jarvis Landry or Rashard Higgins or any of the receivers the Browns have. It's going to be interesting to see how fast he adjusts to it. And I think with minicamp, it always screams more of like a 7-on-7 thing because you're not really looking at a lot of contact in those situations. You're looking more for, the individual matchups on the perimeter and, getting the timing down, how those guys line up. So he's a guy I'm looking at. The other one's going to be interesting. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, how he factors in, in that base 4-3 defense. Obviously, he's going to play the will linebacker week outside. We expect Anthony Walker is going to be in the middle. That strong side position is going to be interesting. So there's a lot of opportunity there. His role is going to be fascinating. We may only get a little taste of it over these 3 days.
The other thing that'll be interesting is to see how James Hudson, 4th-round pick, tackle, how they use him and what they do with him, how he fares against. There's some pretty big-name veteran defensive linemen, and you can be sure Bill Callahan will be in his ear trying to help out his rookie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not going to be obviously minicamp's not as full contact as training camp, but I think, again, it's another chance to get, experience against veteran players. And you're right, obviously, when you look at that talent that's on the defensive line, I mean, that's a pretty good way to get yourself up to game speed is to have to try and block guys like Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Tack McKinley from an offensive tackle perspective. He's going to get a pretty good lesson. And I'm not sure how much we're really going to be able to glean from those battles. But I think the important thing is just for him to kind of learn what to expect, kind of learn how those guys play, adjust to the speed, and he'll have a few weeks to get ready and kind of see what he needs to work on before training camp.
So earlier we talked about Travis Kelce saying that the Browns and the Chiefs were neck and neck. That's one of the guys on the Kansas City Chiefs, a local kid who thinks the Browns are right there with the Chiefs. Here's what Brandon Marshall and Nick Wright from First Things First think about that statement by Travis Kelce.
Brandon, Travis Kelce saying the Browns and Chiefs are neck and neck is blank.
Oh, close to home. This dude is a Cleveland Heights guy.
There we go.
That's where he's from. He's from the area, so of course he was going to take it easy on him. Look, hats off to Jarvis Landry, the Jarvis Landry Building Winners Foundation. That place was packed. It was rocking. He did a great job raising money for families facing disparities when we talk about health crisis, and then also just socioeconomics problems. So great job, Jarvis Landry and team.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, did you guys see Travis Kelce there? People are going to make fun of me on the internet. I don't care. This guy's just the total package. Best tight end in football, check. Incredibly charitable in the community. We just saw, what was he doing? Check. Like, disarmingly good-looking, check. And now we can add to it, astute football analyst. Who's the first Brownie mentioned? Old Baker Mayfield. Who does Nick Wright have in the AFC Championship game? Chiefs Browns. Who does Travis Kelce have?
Goodness.
Chiefs Browns. What can Travis Kelce
Colts.
not
Chiefs,
do?
Colts.
Can be like having fun with it, but it's a valid point.
You look at the rosters of the teams, there are actually plenty of areas where the Browns have the advantage, especially on defense. Really the only area I would have the Chiefs ahead of the Browns is defensive tackle, because I look at that position. They have Chris Jones, who's really, really good. They signed Jaron Reed from the Seahawks. I think that's a pretty good under the radar signing. On the other side of the football, we know just Patrick Mahomes is just better than Baker Mayfield, and that's no slight against Mayfield. That's just how good Patrick Mahomes is and has been. The fact that it took till the Super Bowl this past February for Patrick Mahomes to really have his first quote-unquote bad game in the NFL, and he's still almost through crazy completions, just running for his life and still almost throwing touchdowns. That's how good he is. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are basically cheat codes in the offense. Hill because of his ridiculous speed and athleticism, and Kelce because he's a matchup nightmare. Obviously, the Chiefs have the top-end talent. I think where the Browns have the advantage is they're so well-rounded. You look at this roster, you look at all the positions on the depth chart, it's hard to find a true weakness in this roster right now. That's why I think they're really in the position where they are right now, is because the roster's so balanced.
Is there an area you would look to upgrade for the roster?
This was a hard one to kind of think about. I think I kind of went with kicker. I mean, obviously, Cody Parkey's got some veteran experience. He nailed some pretty big kicks in the playoffs, but I think there's always that concern. You know, we all know the double doink happened. We know that certainly in playoff games, you're going to need your kicker to step up and make a big kick. I'm sure, obviously, Browns fans probably would prefer to have a Justin Tucker or a Harrison Butker type kicker. Those guys are obviously not available. I think that just would have been an area that I would have looked to upgrade. You could look at other things like, for example, third defensive tackle. If Sheldon Richardson is not added back, that'd be an area. Other than that, there's really not much that stands out as far as weaknesses.
Tim Bielik, reporter for cleveland.com, as well as the Plain Dealer, and I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll take a look at a couple of veterans that could be available. Does Tim think the Browns may sign them? Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Better days are ahead. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So what are you waiting for? Register now for online and on-campus summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens? Fact, more than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with Tim Bielik, reporter for cleveland.com, as well as the Plain Dealer. So, Tim, Stephon Gilmore, Patriots cornerback, all-pro. Some regard him as one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Holding out. Did not report to mandatory minicamp. Wants his contract redone. He's in the final year of a contract, $7 million this year. Would require you probably to give him a new contract and extend him, and you're going to have to give up something to get him, probably not a ton though. Do you try to trade for Stephon Gilmore? Do you think the Browns will? How do you approach that?
I probably would. I mean, I don't think you can have enough good corners in a passing NFL, especially considering the teams you have to go against to get to the Super Bowl. When it comes to the Chiefs and the Bills, we know how good their passing games are. The thing with Gilmore, he's only 30 years old, so it's not like you're getting a very old guy. I mean, he's turning 31 before early in September, so you're looking at a guy who's got a couple of years left, and we know how talented he is. And as deep as the Browns' corner room is, you know, especially after drafting Greg Newsome in the first round this past year, you look at, you know, guys like Newsome, Greedy Williams, Denzel Ward, they've had some injury issues. Newsome at the college level, obviously we haven't seen him at the pro level yet. Greedy, we don't quite know what he is yet. So I think that would be an interesting swing for Andrew Berry to take. If it doesn't cost a lot and you only have to give him about a 3-year deal, might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, and again, you probably wouldn't cost a whole lot of draft capital or players either to potentially get him. All right, free agent that's out there. Veteran guy, same position, cornerback. Richard Sherman has come out and said he's kind of going to weigh his options, wait to see. He wants to play for a Super Bowl contender. We've spent the better part of a month and a half, 2 months, saying the Browns are a Super Bowl contender. Is Richard Sherman somebody you're interested in or not so much?
Not as much as Gilmore. I'm not sure just kind of the fit he has there. I know he's obviously fits the size component that you want opposite Denzel Ward. I mean, he's 6'3". That's incredibly tall for a corner. We know his productivity has been outstanding when he's healthy, but of course, 33 years old, you don't know how much mileage he's got left. It's not like a guy like Gilmore who's a little younger, got a couple extra years left. You worry about the miles, not just because of age, but because he's gone deep into the playoffs so many years. He's played in 3 Super Bowls. You know, he's gone on deep playoff runs year after year after year. Eventually, you start to wear down with those extra games. So maybe that's one I kind of try to stay away from unless the price is very, very minuscule.
Another guy, a local guy now, signed a 3-year, $39 million contract extension with the Dolphins. That would be Jerome Baker from Benedictine High School, 28-some million guaranteed. What do you make of Baker and the way he fits into that system as a linebacker for the Dolphins?
He's been tremendous. I think his ascension, along with Miami's ascension as a defense, is why I said the Dolphins a few weeks ago. I said that they were a sleeper contender in the AFC, maybe a year away from really contending for the Super Bowl, depending on the progress of Tua Tagovailoa. But I mean, this is a team that's done nothing but overachieve. And I thought Baker was, good value in the 3rd round. He's really gotten better and better. He's a fast linebacker. I think he was the guy that had about a 20-plus yard sack of Patrick Mahomes in the middle early in the game against the Chiefs. They ended up losing that game, but they kept it pretty close, which kind of told people that the Dolphins are legitimate. He's a guy that's only getting better, and I think he's a fun fit for that defense. There's a reason, I'm excited about the Dolphins. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. They fly around on defense, and Jerome Baker plays a big part in that.
Tim Bielik, reporter for The Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Tim, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
All right, Tim Bielik. Make sure you read him in the pages of The Plain Dealer as well as on cleveland.com. Indians getting ready to open up a series against the Orioles. J.C. Mejia will get the start against the Birds tonight. But some tough news from over at Progressive Field. Shane Bieber, Indians ace, on the IL with a strained right shoulder. That is his throwing shoulder. Shut down from throwing for 2 weeks. Then they'll reevaluate. He'll have to have his arm strength built back up. So the Indians recall relief pitcher Kyle Nelson from AAA. But right about now, Indians need some of these young guys to come up and take the bull by the horn, so to speak, in the rotation. As Aaron Savali, the only one of the initial 5 guys in that starting rotation who is healthy and able to go. And we're just in the middle of June. Very long season. And Terry Francona now without Shane Bieber for at least probably 3-4 weeks, as you're going to have to build up the arm strength, as he's not allowed to throw for the next 2 weeks. But again, J.C. Mejia on the hill against the Baltimore Orioles over at Progressive Field, opening up a 4-game series. We are all out of time on Sports for CLE. We will see you again tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guests, Mac Robinson and John Fanta. Browns mandatory minicamp gets underway. We will have some player availability as well as Kevin Stefanski. That's tomorrow at 4. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4.